In today's episode, I got yelled at over asking if they wanted fries and a drink. Customer ruined my week. This needs to be my last holiday season working in the service industry. 1-star TripAdvisor review was my fault apparently. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. I got yelled at over asking if they wanted fries and a drink. When I got my first job, I worked at a wildly popular tourist location in their cafe. Now, being a young 18-year-old at their first job, I did everything to a T. Working food service isn't hard, but the customers never make it easy for you. On this particular day, it was quite busy and you couldn't see the end of the line. Kitchen was throwing orders up to the pass and each cashier's transaction was probably no more than 2 minutes, so we were constantly moving. It was required of us to also upsell as much as possible, not that we were rewarded for it or anything, but if the manager didn't hear us try we would get talked to, yay micromanaging. I had done a bunch of fairly easy orders and customers could see how busy we were, so they were generally quite nice to us except for this one lady, her husband, and their child that was definitely way too old for a stroller. This lady comes up, ready to order, but she has a question. I just wanted to know what the grilled cheese is? Like, what is that? In all honesty, I was a little shocked because it's not like a grilled cheese was like a food from a different culture. I could understand if it was literally any other food, but a grilled cheese is quite common in North America. Anyways, I explained to her that it was 2 pieces of bread with a few slices of cheese in between that they grill on a panini press. She didn't really seem to understand the concept, but the rest of the conversation basically went like this. Lady, so it's like sandwich? Me, yeah, they just grill it so that the cheese melts and it's crispy. Lady, okay, I'll get one of those then. Me, okay, cool. Would you like it with some fries and a drink? The lady instantly froze. I repeated the question and she just blinked. Me, did you want fries and a drink or just did you want the grilled cheese by itself? Lady, I don't know what that means. Me, or did you want it as a combo? With fries? And a drink? At this point this lady was getting really annoyed, and I really probably should have ended the conversation here, but alas, she went on. Lady, I don't know what that means, I just want a grilled cheese. Me, I was just asking if you also wanted fries and a drink? And then she absolutely loses it. Lady, I don't know what that means, that's too many options, I just want the grilled cheese, why are you being so rude? Her husband also chimes in and started yelling at me saying that this was terrible customer service, and it was too complicated to understand, and I literally just stood there waiting for them to finish. The lady ended up screaming and demanded that someone else take their order because I was making it difficult for them. I pulled someone else to go help and walked into the kitchen and began crying instantly, mostly out of frustration because it was literally not that confusing. I watched through the kitchen doors as the guy helping this lady tried to calm her down, but she was throwing hands like her life depended on it. Funny thing is, this lady spoke perfect English, so it's not like she couldn't understand. To this day, anytime I see a grilled cheese I just get flashbacks. Customer ruined my week. This past weekend, I was scheduled to double. We'd lost 2 servers the week prior and were short a closer this night, so I offered to stay and close. The opener also called in sick, so I went in early. Worked the entire, busy, day as the only one on the floor. Which was fine, I was making great money, I was in a good mood, things were running smoothly despite us getting slammed. But I was tired. Dinner rolls around, I get sat and ate top for a birthday. I'm shooting the sh*T with the table, we're laughing, they are very pleased with their food and drinks, all is very well. One elderly customer at the table ordered a sandwich, verbatim, everything on it but the cheese. His wife was speaking over him trying to clarify for him, as well as a woman I'm assuming was his daughter. I have 3 people trying to give me the same order at once, even though the elderly man seems perfectly capable of ordering for himself. They're all telling me the same thing, and I repeat the order back to them to make sure it's all good before I send it. Sandwich comes out. I go do what I gotta do after dropping their food. Go back to check on their table. Daughter of the elderly man catches my attention with crazy eyes, so I rush over to her. Immediately starts yelling at me in the middle of a full section, humiliating me in front of half the customers there. Sandwich has a horseradish sauce that the old man apparently didn't want on it, despite me clearing the order with them numerous times. This is ridiculous, are you kidding me? He does not like the taste of the sauce, that's the problem. Can you not understand that? Blah blah blah. Sure, whatever, apologize profusely, take the plate back, crisis averted, I thought. No point in arguing, I just want these people to eat and leave. Send the sandwich back to the kitchen, ask for a new bun sans sauce, go make my rounds real quick and check on my other tables. Sandwich is done with what I'm assuming is a new bun. We have someone working expo, and I felt like I could safely assume they just whipped up a new bun since it only takes a couple seconds, so I don't check for myself. Probably a mistake. Drop the sandwich back at the 8 top, apologize again, etc. Go do some refills, run food to my other tables. Check back in with the 8 top, crazy eyes daughter lady is fuming. Starts screaming at me, humiliating me again. Shows me that the sauce had simply been scraped off the bun, flinging all kinds of profanities at me. And while I agree that that's sh*tty and shouldn't have happened, should have been a new bun, I can't stress enough that this woman was attracting the attention of the entire restaurant at this point so they could watch her verbally degrade me. I had already offered compensation at this point, as well as a new dish on me, didn't tell them that part, and several profuse apologies. I was nothing but friendly and attentive with this table, and this woman was dead set on humiliating me in front of everyone there. Still maintaining my composure and apologizing, offering every solution I can think of. Old man who ordered the sandwich is also throwing a tantrum. When I offered him something new, he slammed his plate down on the table and said, "No, get it out of my face." They also told me to double check their to-go order because if I wasn't competent enough to get this right, they want to make sure that one's at least correct. Crazy eyes and the man's wife demand to speak to a manager. Sure. I bring the sandwich back again and grab my manager, who had been helping our slammed bartender, far enough out of earshot that he didn't hear the extent of the ass reaming I had just received. He asks me if it's the lady he thought it was, and tells me he knew she was gonna be a problem the second they walked in the door. They speak to my manager, still don't know what they said. I go check on them again. They demand I bring the birthday cake I put in the cooler and announce to the entire restaurant that they will be eating it at home. Yippee. This isn't the first time in my years serving I've had a customer yell at me, but it is the first time I've had someone whose goal was so clearly to humiliate me over something that, to me, is so small. It's crazy how something like that can affect your mental for days and weeks afterward. I'm confident I'm good at my job, but I'm dreading going back to work, and I'm up all night tonight unwillingly replaying those events in my head, just feeling like sh*t about it. This industry s**ck's. This needs to be my last holiday season working in the service industry. For context, I work at a nice restaurant in the Bay Area. For NYE, we had a special where you could get a 3-course meal. We were one of the few restaurants open for the holiday, so naturally we were incredibly busy. I had a party of 14 come in around 7, which is our typical dinner rush. I was serving them along with 2 other smaller groups in my section. From the second they got there, I could tell this was just going to be one of those groups. From the jump, they were demanding and rude, but I tried my best to be accommodating. They all chose to go with the 3-course special, so I took their order for their whole meal, and let them know their starter of soup or salad would come out first. After dropping their starters, I immediately put in the ticket for their entrees intended to my other tables. About 8 minutes later, I walking by the large parties table to greet a new table that was sat in my section. On my way over, a lady from the large party aggressively grabs me by the arm and asks me in a rude tone if her food will get here today or tomorrow. Mind you, it has been less than 10 minutes since their order was sent in, and we have an entirely packed restaurant. I am shocked by her rudeness and the fact she physically grabbed me to get my attention. Also, it's a freaking holiday. Most people try to be a little more kind to their waitstaff since we are forced to work and are missing out on time with our own families. Anyway, I immediately pulled myself away and informed my manager of the situation. He speaks to their party and explains that we have steps of service we follow, and it is our policy to bring each portion of the meal out after each other, rather than bringing the 3 courses at once. Their meal was nearly ready as well, but 2 of the steaks were requested to be cooked well done, which takes a little more time. They waited about 15 minutes from the time their first courses were dropped, and most people had not finished their starters at the time they began complaining. She argues with my manager for a while, but eventually it all seems resolved. Fast forward to when their meal is served, 3 people send their perfectly cooked steaks back. They are complaining about the sides even though they were clearly listed on the menu. They order more drinks from the bar and start yelling at random staff when it takes more than 2 minutes for our cocktail waitress to drop them off. You know, just all around being terrible people. They get my manager and demand for their mostly eaten plates to be comped because they didn't like the food. When they finally get their check, they begin fighting with me over the living wage tax, which is a city-mandated tax that is included for all restaurants in the city, not just our establishment. They make a huge scene in front of the entire restaurant and are trying to call the city at 8 p.m. on a holiday to confirm that the tax is a real thing. After 30 minutes of this, they begrudgingly put cash in the book and try to leave. They get upset that my manager is sitting there counting it before allowing them to go. And of course, they were short around $50. They give us a card after some arguing and don't leave a tip on a $700 plus check. We don't have automatic gratuity on large parties for some reason I cannot comprehend. This is probably one of the worst customers I've had in my years of serving, and has solidified the fact I do not want to deal with another holiday season in the service industry. I hope you all had better luck last night than I did. 1-star TripAdvisor review was my fault apparently. In this particular restaurant, in a small tourist town, I was employed as the manager, but the owner was very hands-on, and although I ran the day-to-day operations, she worked closely with me to oversee things. When I started, I noticed a few things that we could tighten our belts with. One was paying an agency an extortionate sum of money to clean the restaurant. I said I would do it and bill it as an hourly rate. She agreed, as it was a lot less money than the cleaning firm. So 6 days a week, I would come into the restaurant early, clean the toilets, vacuum the floor, clean the windows, mop the front steps, etc., etc. The cleaning firm claimed it all took 2 people 4 hours each, total 8 man-hours per day. I did it in less than 2. Anyone could have done it in 2. So there I am at 9 a.m., in a restaurant with most of the lights out, closed sign on the locked door, listening to music on a Bluetooth speaker. The kitchen hand was in the kitchen, putting away a small delivery. The rest of the staff would be in at 11 a.m. to help prep for service. I'm in the back, mopping the toilet corridors when I hear a loud banging on the front door. I poke my head around the corner and see a family of tourists. The father was banging on the door with his fist, the kids are peering through the window, hands shading the light from their faces while rubbing their noses and in forehead on the glazing I had just washed. The mother, looking at her phone, said, "It says online they don't open until 12. "Nonsense!" The father shouted dismissively. "It's breakfast time. Any decent restaurant in this town will be open." He was peering through a little window in the door. The closed sign was obscuring his view, and he was moving his head around trying to see around it. I thought for sure that he would notice the very thing obscuring his view was a sign saying the restaurant was closed, so I went back to cleaning and left them to inevitably realize that we weren't open and shuffle off to somewhere else. Within seconds, the thumping of fat fists on the door returned. Then a loud, muffled bellow echoed around the restaurant. "Hey! Hey! Open this door now. I can hear you in there, you know. I can hear your music. I know you're there. You are being really quite rude. My family is hungry, and we want to eat breakfast. Open up now. I contemplated ignoring them, but ultimately decided to go to the door and politely say we were closed until 12 p.m. This wouldn't take a moment, would it? I went to the door and loudly said we're closed. What? The father shouted back, acting as though he couldn't hear me. We're closed. Not open. What? Listen, we can't hear you, you're going to have to open the door. His wife shouted, while pointing at the lock. Funny thing was, I could hear them just fine. I pointed at the closed sign. The father looked at me and shrugged as if the sign was written in an indecipherable code. As I slid the top bolt down, bottom bolt up, unlocked the latch and cracked the door open a few centimeters, the father tried to push the door open and barge in the way you'd expect a bailiff would. I held it closed as best as I could. Aha, you did hear us and you ignored us. That's not on. Now, table for 4. A half second of silence passed before he yelled, well, are you gonna let us in or what? Sir, I'm sorry to inform you the restaurant is closed. We will open for lunch at 12. In the meantime, if your family is hungry now, then I can recommend Valentina's at the end of the street. They do a fantastic. We went there yesterday. Today we're eating here. As I said, we don't serve food until 12 p.m. How much trouble is it to make some eggs for the kids? If it's too much work for you, then I can cook them myself. I know my way around a kitchen. I've managed restaurants for 25 years. I'm sorry, but we are closed. Please come back later. I tried to shut the door, but he put his foot in the way and held it open with his hand, trying to push past me again. Now listen, I've had enough of this. This whole situation is ridiculous. There are 2 starving kids out here. They are hungry, we are hungry. He said, gesturing to his wife, I'm not asking for a 3-course meal. I'm telling you we want breakfast. Now let us in. His wife joined in the debate. What's your problem exactly? Do you think this is funny? Is this your little bit of power? She asked, in a snarky tone. I can only say this one way, we are closed. We do not serve breakfast. There are no chefs in the kitchen. If you want to eat now, you'll have to find somewhere else. I'm only here to do the cleaning. Now please remove your foot from the door. Well, this is ridiculous. Really it is. I don't know where you get off standing there saying you're happy to let 2 little boys go hungry. You're going to regret this. No wonder you're going out of business. I had no idea what he meant. We weren't going out of business. I left there over 10 years ago, and it's still open now, doing great business. The family walked away, and I locked the door. I went to the kitchen and started recounting the encounter to the kitchen hand, who laughed at the tale. Half an hour later the owner called, and she was livid. The family had left a lengthy, scathing 1-star review on TripAdvisor, our main review site at the time. Almost all of it was lies. They claimed that they were about to order, and I chucked them out of the restaurant because no one was there. They said I swore, cursed, at them and their children, and that the place was very dirty. They went on to say that I threatened to call the police if they wouldn't get out fast enough. When I got around to reading it, I saw that it was a huge rant that went on forever. Much like this post I'm writing now. I got to talk to the owner afterwards. She was furious and blamed me for blemishing her almost perfect review record. I told her that none of it made sense and described my version of events. She told me that I should have done a better job to resolve the conflict, and seeing as both myself and the kitchen hand were in the restaurant, that we should have just let them in rather than send them away and have them leave a bad review.